Alright, so it's 2021 right now. Around 2000, I want to say between 2015 and 2016, when I was at the address, the physicality address in municipality of Patchogue, New York 11772, which is Suffolk County. When I was there in at 69 West Row Boulevard, which was, I guess it's the Traction House, I've heard it called, the Stash House, the Cancer House. I mean, it's been, for Special Task Force, it's been used for with a lot of different combined effort. Now, when I talk combined, I'm talking Hadron. So if I have my safety zone of Hadron, I had non-safety members that are not in my task force. They're in some other task force completely, using my safety zone and some prong that they gained access to for knowing who I was, and they tried to overlap in a nonsensical way, and it wasn't allowed. That then spurred other issues at Space and Time Crimes. I will say, though, in 2016, I was having biological attacks from unknown process. Now, there's the Fortnite, and then, here's the thing, humans don't even think this way. The humans speak and say a phrase. It's called fall asleep. It's time to fall asleep, Nicole. My question is, and not to anything human, strictly to NICKLAUS. Sweetheart, if I fall asleep, who's going to catch me? I don't want to fall alone. I don't want to fall asleep alone. I don't want to fall anywhere alone. So my sleep circadian rhythm at Dia was off. So I was falling asleep at 69 West Row Boulevard in Patchogue, New York 11772, close to where Michael Houston was, which was I actually felt safer knowing he was close. I'm not going to lie. At least I had safety net close in an emergency, and I thought I had established enough of a connection where if I needed him, I could rely on him, although that fell flat on my face when I actually did need him. He did not come through. So, let's think about this. So, I had, my children were involved only ever so slightly. They saw the effects of where I disappear, and then I return and I'm wounded somehow. This particular time, I had cigarette burns all over my forearms. Linda covered it up with the word mosquito bites and some false story her human came up with, or she was scripted with, I don't quite know, about me being in the backyard, whatever. And I'm just like, right, yeah, no, I get it. That's what your side of the dumb fucking and useless is doing. I was like, but I really don't fucking trust you. I was like, I disappear, and then I come back, and I got cigarette burns, and I got intermittent amnesia dementia, and I'm remembering things, but then can't remember things, and I'm going through, and I have physical signs up and down my arms. I literally would take, I went to the doctor, I showed Dr. Patel, so I had a dark-skinned doctor of, I don't know if he considers himself Oriental Indian or if he considers himself West Indie. I'm not sure, so I will not make that decision for him. But he's one of the Indians. and I'm a different native Indian. So, but I'm also Frank and French for this conversation. So now let's think about this. So I went only to get an antibiotic from him since he holds some prescription pad and I don't have access to anybody else. And it was in walking distance to my house, even though I drove. So I showed him the cigarette burn wounds. He asked what happened. I said, I think I was sleeping and I scratched the skin off my arms. I mean, what am I going to say? I disappeared, and when I woke up, I had cigarette burns all over my arms again. I mean, so then I got the antibiotics just so it wouldn't get infected and I wouldn't turn septic. I then came home and I bought myself bandage and gauze and alcohol, rubbing alcohol. So I would, depending on, at first the wounds were deep and whatnot, and the scabs I hadn't formed. I mean, they were deep. They were deep burns. I mean, it was through to, I have scars, that's how deep it is on my forearms, but it's from here to here, and I have big cigarette hole burns. So, I mean, this is not this thing, Suffolk County Police, they're not gonna take my, what do you report? Who do you... You know what I'm saying? This whole thing is so complicated. So anyway, so I have these physical wounds and burn marks. I did involve the children. I asked them. I didn't inform them of the story. I didn't inform them what happened or my part and of what I was able to recall. What I did say to them, however, was that I needed them to help me dress the wounds. I'll put the alcohol on it. I just need you to hold the gauze and wrap it around my forearm just so it gets tight enough that then I can take over with the ace, because I put gauze, then I put an ace bandage around it, and I walked around with, from my arms, from my wrist to my elbow, the entire thing, all of the wounds were covered on both of my forearms. And it took weeks to heal. Let's think about this. So they were there for that process. They didn't know what was going on. I think that Lewis and Lynn, that's where they came up with some concoction of I was on drugs. And I'm like, definitely not. But, I mean, it was really, really obnoxious, the theoreticals that these shitbags were jumping to conclusions with. And I'm like, I'm in the fucking house. I was like, I disappear, and then I come back, and I got these burns all over my arms. I mean, it's not drugs, stupid assholes. I don't do drugs. I don't. Then I was taking pain pills, but they were prescribed again. Same Dr. Patel with the dark skin, but it was on a labeled prescription, what I was taking. And it was to combat the other biological attack effects of my joints. It wasn't my synovial fluid in my synovial articulation in my knee joint. It wasn't that. It was different interstitial fluid coming from different tissues. Most of it subjected towards the sacral area on my dorsal side of my lumbar. And that's it. So, so that happened. But I did involve the kids in at least looking at the wounds, but without making a big scary deal out of it because I don't want to scare them about just how shitty their fucking father and my rape by him and having them was, and how much I love one of their fathers and not the other. It really becomes difficult, so I just stay quiet. If you have nothing nice to say, say nothing at all. I've lived that way for over 20 years. And before. Because I really didn't speak to Linda and Lewis unless spoken to, because I really fucking hate them. let's think about this. Alright, so that's the burns on my arms. I've got the same thing going on my face. I know it looks like I pick it, which I do, but my face just split open. It's not a sore, it's not a growth, it's just a burn. It's a burn from a laser is really what it is. I walked into some kind of a laser and it just burned the side of my face. And now it's not healing properly, so I keep trying to like adorn the edges, but it bothers me. But these are not like, I know I've heard before, like, oh, with meth, they pick their face and all that. Yeah, no, shitbag. Don't pretend like you're important and you fucking know something. This is space and time crimes. I fucking go just... I walk through time and space, and then I come back into the moment in this disgusting dollhouse. I mean, this is what it looks like for me. I'm in this prison dollhouse scenario. I'm in one room. I'm usually perfectly healthy, just going about my day waiting for NICKLAUS to come to get me so we could go be happily ever after elsewhere. And then all of a sudden, intermittently, I get pulled out of the dollhouse scenario and room that I'm isolated and locked in by what looks like a normal family according to the Americans. And then I get somewhere else. Some of it I've been very happy with. I've done special training. I've met some great people. No idea who they are or where they live or any of that. Because then I wind up back here. And it's like the wall shuts and cuts off my ability to even remember where I was when I was outside of the dollhouse, which is this one room looking life frame. And then later on in life, in my teenage years and also later on in life, when I appeared back inside, we'll call this the dollhouse in Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361 for this point, even though some of it happened in Patchogue, when I returned, then sometimes I would have wounds. I'd have facial wounds, I'd have burn marks, I'd have black and blues, I'd have odd pains, like I was in some kind of fight where I was like unconscious, like drugged unconscious, and while I was unconscious, they beat the fuck out of me, and then I woke up and didn't know that somebody like just kicked the shit out of me, and then it was like painful to walk and move. That's how this life frame has shown up. So when you say like things like bigamy and like, which is like having sex with more than your real, more than just NICKLAUS, I want your fucking tongue cut out and your head chopped off. Because you're so fucking dumb, fucking and useless. And you make life so much fucking worse for Metro Police and for like NYPD and like anything that could have been useful in my fucking life frame to secure other area. Where I come from and spiritually not a human, in just an energy orb, let's say, in points of light that can distinguish. Oh, by the way, more important factor, inside this dollhouse, inside Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, I sat next to Benjamin Jason Romer, born 09181999, yesterday, in the century 20 year 21. I said, Benjamin, look at my eyes. I said, what color are they? He goes, red. I go, no. I said, don't be funny. I go, I know that they're red, but I want you to look at my eyes with your eye color. I was like, and I want you to look towards the center of my pupil. I was like, do you see hazel between my blue, white, gray gas and the center black pupil? There is a gold hazel, like there's a gold green hazel in the center in a really important shape. Can you see it? And he looked at my eyes and he said, no. And I said, look again. I said, listen, I'll look away so you can study my iris to my pupil, so this way I don't make you nervous. So I looked away, and I told him to look at my eye. And he says, I still don't see it, Mom. And I'm like, that's scary. That's really scary. Because Alexander and I have the same... I have it more pronounced than Alexander. But Alexander does have the hazel tear between his blue and his pupil as well. But Benjamin, his eyes and his gas is unable to see the differential or to see my eyes for what they really are. So, I mean, I know that humans are like, well, don't we all see the same? No, you don't. Some of you are able to hear sounds that others cannot, in octaves, in separation of like an orchestra. Some can hear the flute, some focus more on a cello, some more on a violin. You don't all function the same. You don't all have the same purpose, you don't all have the same function, you don't all have the same characteristics, and it's really fucking difficult when you need to make policy and police, and then you all insist that you have some medical professional that wants to prove me wrong. You should all die. Because all you've done is make this more difficult. There is an inside piece of a position, we'll say, that needed to be protected. And I needed to work out in Atlantis, Atlantis, in order to sterilize the surgical field and in order to keep it clean and push back all of the Indian traffic that was not conducive to what I needed in dead center spot of where the glass broke originally in the environment. Instead of doing that, you allowed the infection, we'll call it, of the confectionery, the sweet, oh my God, at the central cooking kitchen, and you let them use the broken glass tributaries almost like guidelines and almost like ladder rungs to target me directly, which is even more scary. So in this Century 19, year 78, that I was born identity, with a Linda and a Lou in a Bayside station, Bayside, New York, 11361, this dollhouse, I don't know what the purpose, intent, or function is for outer world in spiritual realm, but I will tell you right now, inside of humanity, it has no fucking function. This is just a torture device and a really deceptive concept and construct by someone I can't name, I can't put a label on, and I can't reach. But yet I'm subjected to this new muscular dystrophy in entropy as a topiary. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. I am not for mixing. I have a specific white story. I am a Slav, which is S-L-A-V, which is a 4-letter Keop white word from my inside Atlantis to try to protect myself from the broken glass becoming those guidelines to things that are not white and not safe for me. And then I've got slave, S-L-A-V-E, which is just a Slavic way of explaining my one position. But then when you use the word or the term in silhouette and sepia of shades of gray, the black and the white concept with 3 different shades of gray becomes very difficult when you involve something that is not of my genetic lineage. By deformation, meaning the formation of my eye and my visual nose and the shape of my very specific I said to Benjamin and Alex last night, I said, listen to me. It's like, you know that Dutch painting? The girl with the pearl earring? He's like, yeah. I was like, it is adorned with a headdress. It's a fancy version of what today they wear in poor areas as burqas. I was like, it's a fancy adornment in the Middle East. I was like, it has a gold and a blue coloring on it, which is very significant. For me at this point, I believe the significance is partially in the Ukraine. I say Ukraine because it's UK. Only reason I don't want Bulgaria to get upset. So, that's that. I said to the boys, I said, however, because I have to tie in my beautiful Russians and Germans. So, well, my beautiful Russians, we'll stick with that for a moment. Because I was having a Turkish conversation with them, and Alexander about hungry. I'm really hungry for his dad, his real dad, being not anything from New York. And I am Austrian before I'm Turkish for this one reason. But I said Alexander always had Constantinople. I was like, there's Catherine the Great and Alexander the Great. And Alexander always stood for Constantinople. I was like, and that's a really important piece with your mom in her headdress as the one peasant girl with the pearl earring, for where I'm at the moment, where I've got a Canadian and American war that nobody even addresses or speaks of. They're failing miserably, and I'm yelling at times like a disgusting American, because that's what I've been left in, to Canada, which then gets its back up in an archway like they're so much more sovereign and better. And I'm like, yeah, cut the fucking bull out, send fucking help, and then we'll have like talks after. Because when I'm in Iber to Siberia, I'm much more respectful and much more characteristic of what I am. But you leave me in a barefoot, flip-flop, open-toe shoe fight without any defense, it's a little fucking difficult. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's August 22nd, 2021.